Hello and welcome to the Game Theory Podcast. I'm your host, Sam Vicini. We are presented by CLNS Media. Today on the show, we've got a good personal friend of the program here. His name's David Nurse. Dave, would you call yourself like a basketball kind of nomad? Like you've been all over the world. You've been in the, you've coached in the NBA. You've played overseas. You have, you consult for colleges. Like you do a billion different things. Like what would you call yourself?
That's a really good question. I don't know. I would say maybe basketball nomad might be the best way to go, or a traveling bum, shooting bum. I don't know. Yeah.
Finding places on people's couches.
That's exactly it. I feel like I got a lot of friends in different countries, which is great because I've been into over 35 countries running camps or clinics. I mean, so it just kind of helps out to have those contacts over there. But yeah, I think a traveling circus. There we go. Traveling circus. How about that?
David Nurse, the traveling circus. So Dave currently is a consultant with the UCLA basketball program. I was supposed to have him on last week. We decided not to do that due to some of the issues of the UCLA basketball program. We're not going to talk about that on this podcast. I just kind of wanted to throw it out there to make sure people knew that A, I knew and wasn't hiding it, and B, that, kind of wanted to explain it for people that are kind of wondering what he does. But I kind of wanted to just kind of hear your story because I find you to be an incredibly interesting person. Dave's also the host of the Game of Life podcast, which is a new addition to the CLNS Media Network. You should go subscribe to that podcast immediately. It's really good. Dave, having all of the contacts that he has throughout the basketball industry, gets awesome guests. Like he's had Aaron Baines on. He's had Gary Sachs, the former Los Angeles Clippers general manager, on. He has had. Have you released the Jeremy Lin one yet?
Oh yeah, I had Jeremy on, one of the first ones on. Yep.
Yeah, no, like he is really connected throughout the NBA, and you kind of run your podcast a little bit differently. You run it in the manner of your personality, which is not necessarily analytical like mine, but you run it through the prism of personalities and through how they got to where they are and what advice they could ever impart to people that are listening.
Yeah, exactly. Now, it's been a lot of fun being able to do it because I'm a big nut on when it comes to learning, and I love hearing people's story that have made it to the top. Whether it's in the NBA, like Jeremy Lin, his story, or Gary Sachs on how he raised to the NBA, but even more so just like top performers in all different fields. I've been blessed to have top sleep coach in the world come on, one of the best human optimization biohacking people. I've got actually here after our call, I have a Navy SEAL, a 20-year leader of the Navy SEALs that's going to come on and talk about his story. Just been really cool to be able to learn from all different areas and see how different people are, but how like-minded they are when it comes to personal development and just having a passion and following that passion.
So yeah, I mean, like I said, he's going to explain it way better than I ever could because he's extraordinarily passionate about it and extraordinarily good at kind of getting all of the best stuff out of these people that he interviews. I just pulled up Dave's Real GM page just to kind of jump into a couple of different things here on his start. There is no way you were 6'3".
Hey, you know what? That's how you always got to do it. I'm 6'2", but you always have to put an inch taller. That's what everybody does. Of course, I had to as well.
So you end up you went to a community college first, and then I knew that you went to Western Illinois. Kind of just give me a little bit of background on how you came up through the basketball world.
Yeah, so actually I went to UMKC in my hometown, Kansas City first. I grew up in Iowa, grew up with Kyle Korver, the same town as Kyle Korver, small town Pella, Iowa, basketball nut. Played it in the driveway every single day, every single hour, and went to UMKC for college. Then I transferred to Western Illinois, and then played overseas in Australia, Greece, and Spain, and realized I would come back and I would do some camps and clinics and train some of my friends that were in the NBA. I was like, man, I'm much better at this and can probably make a better living at this than trying to play over in second division Europe and living in the middle of nowhere, northern Spain. So all right, time to make a change, and was blessed to have some really good friends that played in the NBA. Like Aaron Baines was a teammate of mine in Greece, and Chris Lofton was a teammate in the D League. I played for a just real brief time in the D League. And yeah, so I started building that, and it just kind of one thing led to the next. I never really sat down and thought, hey, this is what I want to do. It was just I really enjoyed doing it, and I never considered myself as I got to go to my job. I got to wake up and go to the office. It was just the next day I get to go work with players and help them get better. And agents started sending their players. Those players that are friends of mine started bringing their friends. Teams started sending guys, and it just kind of built from there as far as being able to work with NBA players and kind of be the guy that's behind the scenes helping them improve not only on court, but even more so, I think importantly, as a mentor off court.
So if I remember correctly, I think you're 30 right now, right?
30, yep.
So old. Yeah, right. Maybe compared to me, but you're definitely nowhere near old. So did you find it difficult to kind of get started as a trainer? Because that's ostensibly what you were whenever you first started this deal. Like, did you find it difficult to get started as a trainer at 26 years old or whatever?
Yeah, so it was about 24 years old when I was done playing, and there was a challenge to it, but especially more of the challenge was not necessarily with the players. Yeah. I felt like I could relate with the players really well, and I was kind of their same age and could relate as being a player as well, and just the importance of relationships for me is the biggest thing. Like you can have the greatest stuff on court and you can be the greatest basketball mind there is, but if you can't relate to a player, then they're not going to listen to you. So I felt like that was where my advantage is, and I just truly, genuinely, like, these were my good friends. These were the guys I talked to daily on a daily basis, more than basketball. So it was more than just, hey, I'm a trainer, I'm just going to train you on court. But there was a challenge for sure, especially when I was going overseas to different countries, and teams from China would bring me in, or Japan, or Australia, and then they'd look at me when I got there like, you're kind of young for this, right? And then afterwards, after the training went through, everything was good and they respected it. But there was always a challenge, yeah, when I was younger, and I was just like I was young and I was still like a lot of growing to do, and obviously I still have a lot of growth left to do. But to be honest, I was very blessed with having just absolutely great people in my life to help me mentor me along the way. Like my uncle who coaches for the Raptors, he's been a huge influence on me and just been awesome for being there for me and any advice that I need. Or Ron Adams of the Golden State Warriors has been a mentor to me. Chip England's been great to me, helping me along my path as I've kind of started in the same way that he did. And just being able to have good connections with people that are willing to help and want to help. I've been blessed with that big time.
Well, it's kind of funny too, because your uncle's probably going to be a head coach within the next 5 years. So
he should. He's great. He's great.
He's really good. Like, he's led the Raptors to a top 5 offensive rating in, I think, each of the last 3 years, and they look really good on offense this year too. Whenever you're getting into training professional athletes, what is kind of the biggest thing that you can do to improve them? Because, like I said, like you're 6'2", you're 190 pounds. You're not necessarily this genetic freak that is capable of playing in the NBA. How do you kind of relate to these absolute, monsters who are so talented and so gifted, and try and, get them to kind of improve their game on their own?
Man, I got a 45-inch vertical. 4 or 5 inch vertical.
I was going to say, y'all ain't jumping 45 inches.
Just kidding, man. Yeah. No, I have absolutely no athletic gene in my body. Yeah, so what I do with the players is, when I first get to know them, it's like before I step on court with them, I'll get to know them super in depth as much as possible. I'll show them that I care for them deeply, and I'll get to know them as a person and figure out like what kind of learner they are, what makes them tick, and just show them that I'm going to go above and beyond anything anybody else has done for them to show how much I truly, genuinely care about them. So I'll always watch like all their film clips possible to know exactly where their strength areas are, where their weaknesses that they need to improve on. And then I'll make it just
I've been with you, like, watching Jeremy Lin clips, like, on second spectrum, like, pulling it up, like, okay, he's going to the left in the pick and roll, maybe 5% too often, like, you get very granular on this.
Oh, yeah. I love getting really, really sciencey and in-depth with it when it comes to that, and second spectrum's an awesome tool for that. But that's more down the line when I'm working with players throughout the season, just helping them be their personal coach and like just their little extra added benefit. And back to like when I'm starting to work with players, like I'll make it be as, like I said, relational as possible, but make it so it's like me and them are a team. We're going to do it together. They're not on their own. They're not just listening to me say, hey, do it this way, do it that way. Because I learned too that I'm never going to tell a player that, hey, this is the way it has to be done. Because at the end of the day, they're that talented. They're in the NBA for a reason. There's not always one way to do it. I'm never going to cookie cutter somebody. Like if you're saying, like breaking down somebody's shot. Like it'd be great if everybody looked like Klay Thompson. I would love that. But that's not how it is. People's bodies are built differently. They have different fluidity to them. They have different rhythm to them. Left eye shooter, right eye shooter. It's going to be different. So it's what works best for them, and you can't put them in like a cookie cutter box. It's how you mold them on knowing that, hey, I'm here for you 100% of the way. I'll do anything to help you. I'll be basically making yourself an absolute servant to them is what I do. And it goes a long ways with them to realize, man, this guy really actually genuinely cares about me. And that's the fun part of it for me. And that's why I love just being able to work with them so in depth, but also it's a rewarding part for me too to see somebody like that get a big contract, like Aaron Baines get a big contract, or James McAdoo win 2 championship rings, things like that, or Norm Powell just got a big contract. Like that's awesome to me because I see how much work they put in, and I know that hey, I've been there for them, helping them behind the scenes, and yeah, so that's kind of the story of how I start working with players and just like the benefits that I reap from it, seeing those guys succeed.
Well, the thing that you always preach to me too, and it's kind of the road you were just kind of going down there, is that you almost act more as a life coach or as a personal development coach, not even a basketball coach. How important is it to NBA players to just kind of have a guy like you on their side? Like how valuable do you find that experience, not only for you, because, you, like you said, like you do reap benefits out of it personally, not even in terms of, them paying you to do something or something like that. You genuinely just enjoy doing it. But how do you think that they get the benefit out of it?
Yeah, I think there's a huge benefit in a player knowing that they have somebody in their corner 24/7 for them, not just on court, but off court as well. Because in the NBA, there's so many people coming at you. There's people asking, pulling on your shirt here and there after the game, trying to get something from you. And you could go a few games and have a bad game, not score a point, and just be by yourself, lonesome in an NBA roster. And it's tough. You can drop into a tough state of losing confidence. Like I've worked with players that are awesome players. Like Sean Kilpatrick, an awesome player, and he had a couple bad games, and he was down on himself, and we just talked for a while, and next game he came out and scored 38 points against the Clippers. Like it's just having that person with you, like anybody in life. You have somebody in your corner, being there for you, supporting you, making you remember how good a player that you are. I think it goes a long ways for these guys. And I know the term life coach is kind of vague and gets thrown around a lot, but it's kind of just being a mentor to them and just being an on-court, off-court, overall life development coach.
So you go from training to working with the Nets pretty substantially, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what was that process like? How was it different being a trainer for just generally players around the NBA as compared to legitimately working for the Nets and working for an NBA team? What was that experience like?
I absolutely loved it. I loved working with the Nets. And it was kind of a different situation because I came in during the year and there was the process of a new coach and a new GM and a lot of transition. But it was a lot of fun working with those guys. And it was a lot of fun just being able to like go in depth, very, very deep on a game-to-game basis with all the guys. Like instead of having to focus on, hey, I got to focus on this game where my guy's at, or this game where a guy that I work with is at, it was all in for one team. And as fun as it is, as much as I enjoy kind of doing my own thing and working with my main players that I like working with, there's something to be said for that team camaraderie after a game, too, in a locker room with guys and just being part of building a culture together. And that's where I really found the enjoyment with the Nets. And I know, the season wasn't the greatest in win-losses, but, when you beat Indiana with Paul George at home and then beat LeBron, Cleveland coming in at home, back-to-back games, like that's like the best feeling in the world. And it's just, it's just 2 NBA games, but I really enjoyed the time with Brooklyn and just the challenges that it brought in a different point of view as far as instead of just developing players on court, off court as like a life mental skills as a skills and overall personal coach to them. Also the ways of, hey, we're working within this offense as a team and with the coaching staff. And how are we going to put you in the best situation you can possibly be in every single night for the players?
So you then, after leaving Brooklyn, decide to come out here to LA. That's how we end up meeting. How do you end up hooking up with UCLA and, consulting with them over the course of the last 2 years now?
Steve is one of my best friends and one of the best coaches that I've ever been around. As the opportunity came up when I left Brooklyn and they had a new coach come in, Kenny, and it's been an absolute blessing to be here for 2 years. Steve does a great job with the program, and it's just a lot of fun working with these guys, working with the young guys. And the weather's a lot nicer out here in LA than it is New York.
Yeah, that's always the biggest key as to why I will either live here or I will live in Australia. There are really only 2 options for me. LA,
I'm with you in Australia, man.
Yeah, Australia is incredible. What of some of the travels that you've gone on? Like you said, you've been to what I believe 35 countries.
Mm-hmm.
Something like that.
Last I counted 35. Yep.
So what is basketball like over there as compared to the United States?
In all different areas, it's funny because it's different. It's really different, but it's all the same as well. Like I'll go do camps in Japan and it'll all be translated. And I don't know if it's really getting translated the right way or not, but everybody is on the same page. It's almost like basketball is a language of its own. Like if I won't even say something to somebody, but I'll show them how to do it, they'll know exactly how to do it. And sometimes those other countries where they don't understand English, they listen better and they apply it better. So it's funny to see the different styles of basketball too, and how it's grown in different countries. Like I'd say Australia is known for being super tough. Like every player literally that's down there, the kids, the player, the pros, they're just tough. Japan, they're really quick. They're playing high tempo, super water bug speed up and down. Europe's more cerebral, as everybody knows. They're really into skill development, and it's just fun to see the different types of basketball, but how much is tied back together as basketball is one language.
Before we move on and talk about some of the some of the players you've been around and some of the experiences you've had, specifically in regard to those guys, we have an ad to read here. Listen up, Hoops fans. Basketball season is back, and now that your favorite hardwood heroes have returned to action, it's time for you to put your fantasy knowledge to the test and win huge cash prizes every night playing one-day fantasy basketball at DraftKings.com. At DraftKings, there are so many ways to play. Choose from public contests with huge cash prizes or private contests where you can compete against your friends. They've even got beginner or casual contests where you'll play against people of similar skill level. And the best part is that you get to draft a new team every day. Drafting is the best part of fantasy, and you get to do it every single day. The only thing better is winning cash to do it. They have huge cash prizes and bragging rights every single day only at DraftKings.com. Use the code CLNS at DraftKings.com to play free with your first deposit for your share of $10,000 in total prizes tonight. Don't wait. Use the code CLNS at DraftKings.com now to choose your lineup, and you can seriously cash in tonight. That's code CLNS, only at DraftKings.com. The game inside the game. Dave, before we move on, let's talk about Lonzo Ball real quick, because you were around Lonzo quite a bit last year, obviously, being out here at UCLA. One of the weirder things that has kind of come up so far with him in like Los Angeles with the Lakers has been this idea that he doesn't have like the dog in him, or he doesn't have the fight in him. I've seen a few people kind of ask that question on TV. I think Doug Gottlieb did it on Twitter at one point. And, you know, I don't mean disrespect to Doug. I actually think I have a higher opinion of Doug than many do. I think he's really smart. Did you, I mean, like people who've been around him kind of know that's ridiculous, but I kind of wanted to get a firsthand account who was around him as much as you were, and hear what you have to say about that.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. Lonzo has an unbelievable work ethic and an unbelievable fight to him too. His demeanor's a little different. I mean, he just kind of looks like a low-key, laid-back guy, and it's kind of how he is. But he has a fight more than any kid that I've seen at the college level. He'd be in the gym early. He'd stay late, and like I always had this feeling with him whenever we played a high-level team, a really good team. Like I had no worries because okay, we got Lonzo. He's going to come out. He's going to be ready for the challenge. Like if you watch the first matchup with him and Fultz up in Washington, and I think you kind of see what happened up there, like how much his fight that he has. And he's learning his way in the NBA, but I think he is the smartest, the most high IQ player I've ever seen at his age, and I've seen a ton of players that I think there's nothing that he can't figure out. Like when people say, oh, can he shoot going to the right off the pick and roll pull up jumper? He'll figure that out. He'll dominate that. He'll continue to be. I think he's going to be maybe like a 10-time NBA All-Star when it's all said and done. He's going to be really, really good.
Yeah, no, I mean, does he have the dog in him? Like that's like cool fodder for like radio and stuff like that, I guess.
Exactly.
But it's just like anyone who has been around him. Like I'm not even going to sit here and say like I've been around him a lot. Like I've interviewed him one-on-one like 2 or 3 times. And even just that, like having talked to him one-on-one for like 30 minutes over the course of now a year and a half, like you immediately see that he is singularly driven, even if he's quiet. Like being quiet and kind of playing an unselfish game doesn't necessarily mean you don't have like this inner fight and inner will to succeed. You know what I mean?
Here's my question. Is Kawhi Leonard a talkative guy? No. Does he have an inner fight? Yeah.
Yeah, like no one would question Kawhi on this one. I think it's just because Lonzo Ball is struggling a little bit in the NBA early on just to finish around the rim and do the things that rookies often struggle to do. The next thing I want to ask you about is that. How difficult is the transition from college basketball to the NBA from someone who has seen it up close at now the trainer level, the NBA level, the college level, literally every kind of basketball draft training, idea that you can have. You have gone through it firsthand. How tough is that transition?
Oh, it's such a tough transition, and you can tell players, college players, which I do, and doing all these pre-draft workouts for guys getting ready for the NBA, of how much different it's going to be. But until they actually get in there and actually see it firsthand, like anything you do, until you actually experience it, you don't really know. But it's such a different level of physicality that it's something that it takes a little while. If a player went into the NBA as a rookie and just absolutely tore it up from the start, there's very rare that do it. LeBron, Kobe definitely didn't do it, but so it takes a while to make that adjustment of playing against college guys than compared to playing against grown men.
And the NBA, especially at the top now with draft picks, continues to get younger and younger. It's crazy to me that we don't give these guys more time to succeed, given the fact that we're drafting them earlier and earlier in their development cycles. Like it is such a tough transition, especially for a 19-year-old who has not finished growing physically to even try and play in the NBA right now.
Oh, it's crazy. I can't believe how, like, they'll write people off at like 22. It's crazy. Like, your mind doesn't even, what do they do? Say studies, your mind doesn't stop developing until you're like 26, 27. And they expect a 19-year-old kid to come in with all this money thrown at him, all these expectations, and all this time, which is the biggest thing that I see. What do guys do to fill up their free time and supposed to function on a high-level 82-game travel schedule? It's crazy. That's why I think there should be much more emphasis, and the great organizations do this on the development, on developing the culture, making sure these guys are cared for, looked after, not just throwing them out to the wolves and saying, hey, good luck.
Yeah, that's another thing I wanted to ask you about. What is the kind of mental transition like for a player going from playing, summer AAU basketball, you'll play a ton of games, you'll play multiple games a day, to college basketball where you'll play 2 or 3 games a week, to the NBA where you're playing 3 to 4 games a week over the course of a 7 or 8 month schedule? How tough is that on these players' bodies?
It's very tough on the players' bodies, and the majority of college players, 95% of them, don't understand what it takes to be a pro. Not just what it takes to be a pro on court, but everything. Like, basically, you say the example of a Steve Nash, how well he took care of his body, how well his nutrition, his recovery, just everything that goes into being a pro. And that's what I'm trying to teach these guys at a young age. And I've been blessed to have a great team around me that I can put these guys in touch with, like a top-level sleep coach, and to coach them on how important sleep is, or a recovery coach, or a nutritionist that I have on my team, that I'm trying to help these guys really understand. It's not just, hey, I'm an NBA player, I can show up to practice, I can walk out there on court, but it's all the little details that go into it, and living a whole professional lifestyle, like a lifestyle change that's going to make them succeed and be able to withstand an 82-game schedule. It's not easy going back-to-back or 3 and 4, and your bodies take a wear and tear, but if you're able to be smart about it, and the older you get, hopefully players start getting smarter about it, and you see the ones that do and don't, but your body wears down, and you have to use, and it is their vehicle to their money, their livelihood, and they have to be able to change it to a professional lifestyle, and that's what I'm trying to help these guys with.
What do you think is the one little detail that maybe fans from the outside or players going into the NBA don't recognize as important?
Don't recognize one detail they don't recognize as important. On court, are you talking about, or
no? Just in their lives, like the one thing that people don't necessarily recognize as being this, incredibly valuable thing that can help you succeed.
I honestly think it's support. I think it's having people there for you, in your corner, that are there for your best interest. Not just people that are going to be your yes men and tell you you're doing everything great, but people that will be there for you and just and be your life coach, per se. I think that's the support that guys can have at the NBA level when they're out there on their own. I think it's the biggest detail that gets way overlooked.
You also have worked with someone like Jeremy Lin, who struggled and clawed to an NBA career early on and then found immense success. What are the lessons that people can kind of take from his early struggle to get to the NBA and then his subsequent success?
To never give up, and in no matter what, you're going to get hit with tough situations. And I have so much respect for Jeremy, and he's got an awesome faith, as me and him both put so much, living for Christ, living for the Lord, knowing that he's got the plan for us, and not to have to put it all on his own shoulders, but hey, know that there's going to be struggles, there's going to be tough times, and you keep working and you keep sticking with what you know is going to get you to that level, your opportunity is going to come. And then if you've been built up and ready for that opportunity, then you're going to take advantage of it, which Jeremy did. So it's great to see those guys like Jeremy and the guys that are D-League players battling out in the D-League and then get their break, and they're able to take advantage of it. And I think it comes a ton with just being prepared for that moment, but also knowing that, hey, the Lord has a plan, and you don't have to worry daily about it. You know that it's all going to work out according to His creative plan for us.
So you, like me, watch a wild amount of NBA basketball. Would you say that is fair?
Oh, yeah.
Who are some of the guys?
For sure. NBA League Pass, the best invention ever, man.
Who are some of the guys you look at around the league that you see as, kind of really underrated nationally?
Oh, that's a great question. Underrated now in the league. Let me think about that. I'm kind of biased, but I think Rondé Hollis-Jefferson's in for a huge year this season.
He's starting to come around, too.
I think he's really coming around. No one's really talking about him, but he's in for a big season this year. I think he's underrated. I think Aaron Gordon's underrated, too, in Orlando. He's the top 3-point percentage shooter right now. He's really worked his butt off over the years. I think he's a little bit underrated. People think more just him as a dunker. Who else?
Well, Aaron Gordon is a great example of people starting to write a kid off a little bit early. And he just turned 21 or 22, I can't remember. And now he's just figuring it out, all the years of work on his 3-point shot, which I don't think he's going to continue to lead the NBA in 3-point shooting, but I think he can shoot now, and that's really important.
Exactly. Yeah. I would say those are the main ones that I would say underrated. I'm trying to think of who you'd think would be the most improved player. Who you got?
Most improved player in the league?
Who's underrated that comes to your mind?
The most improved is a little bit different because Kristaps has never been underrated, but this year Kristaps has made that leap. And to me, the hardest leap to make in the NBA is the leap from really, really, really good to holy shit, this guy's a superstar. That's to me the toughest leap to make. I think that you see a lot of guys go from being bad to being really good. Another guy that I think has made a really, really good leap from average to really, really good potential, borderline all-star is Victor Oladipo. Victor Oladipo's been awesome this year.
Great point, man. And he was out here in LA at UCLA playing pickup because all these guys come out here and play, like Durant, Harden, Chris Paul, everybody. It's unbelievable pickup games in the summer out here. And Oladipo looked amazing. He looked amazing, and I thought Jordan Clarkson looked amazing, too, in the summertime.
Clarkson's been really good this year, too.
Yeah, they both were. They looked great shape. They were killing it in pickup. So good point. Yeah, Oladipo's, very much so.
Who did you see out here this summer that kind of struck you as being really, really good?
Other than those two, it was just it was really cool to see all the top players and how good they are at their given gifts. I've never seen a player being able to watch James Harden up close daily. I've never seen a player be able to control the defender on ball as much as he does. Most defenders will get into you and they'll control you. His hands are so strong and so quick. He bats off defenders all the time.
And his chest, too. It's crazy. He just plows through dudes.
Plows and his ball control going through the lanes, unbelievable. And DeRozan, I've never been a big fan of shooting tough twos, but his ability to create space is I've never seen anybody else. He's unbelievable being able to create space and get off his shot. Being able to watch Russell Westbrook up close a lot in his training, how hard he literally has one, he only knows one speed, go hard all the time. He works his butt off, and he's attacking every drill, every workout. So it's really fun to see that type of stuff behind the scenes from the best players, and Hoodie Mello in the gym all the time with his hood, with his sweatshirt and sweatpants on. He would always come. I'd be training at Fairfax High School, and he'd always come to the other side of the court, and he'd have his hoodie on and his sweatpants tucked into his socks, and just get up a crazy sweat. But he put in a ton of work. I give him a ton of respect.
DeRozan's a funny one to me because DeRozan came into the NBA as like this crazy wild athlete, and instead of using it to just like recklessly attack the rim, he started to use that crazy athleticism to gain that like separation with step backs and with these like little hesitations and stop moves where he can literally stop on a dime now and pull up from anywhere in the mid range. It's a really interesting use of athletic gifts that people don't often do.
Yeah, it is. It's fun to see up close like that.
Well, Nurse, I know you got a heart out here in a little bit. Tell the people where they can find your podcast. Tell the people what you got going on in your life.
Yeah, thank you. Check out the Game of Life podcast. You can find it anywhere you find podcasts, really. I'd love you guys to come on and check it out as we're going to get on a bunch more NBA players and just overall high performers in all areas, all fields. You can follow me on Twitter, David Nurse 05, and reach out to me. Really easy to get a hold of through email, Twitter, and I really like hearing the feedback from NBA fans, from basketball fans, from junkies, because like me and you, like we could talk all day on this podcast. Like I would love to stay on this all day and talk to you, and hopefully we can get back on it again. You can jump on mine, but I live and breathe the game of basketball and helping players get better. So anyway, that. Questions that you guys have out there, hit me with them.
Who are some of the people you have coming on your podcast soon? Because I think you've got a couple in the tank, right?
Okay, yeah, we got Kirk Lakeup, Assistant General Manager of the Golden State Warriors. We have, the Navy SEAL that I said coming on. Got a few more old school NBA players, like that were huge names in the past. I'll just put that as a little teaser. Let's see who else. Then there's like Wim Hof. We've got just some really cool people coming on.
Nurse is so respected around the league that he just sat down for lunch with Sam Hinkie yesterday. So, like, for Sixers fans,
Sam is awesome.
That is how much respect Nurse has in the industry. He can just go, "Hey, Sam Hinkie, I want to go out for lunch," and Hinkie just picks up and goes, "Yeah, sure, let's do it."
It was more just him allowing me to come to lunch with him thing. But Sam is an awesome guy, and he is going to be back in the NBA, and he's going to make a huge splash. Like, he's really, really good.
Yeah, I have no doubt about that. We are definitely Hinkie supporters on this podcast. This has been the Game Theory Podcast. Please remember to rate, review, and subscribe on iTunes. It really helps us move up in the ratings. As soon as you're done subscribing to my podcast, please subscribe to the Game of Life podcast with David Nurse. He is awesome. Like I said, he's going to get great guests. You know that you can trust that he is going to meet your needs as a podcast host. Just keep it locked here. We'll be back soon. We'll be back next week probably with some more really fun content, probably NBA draft stuff, NBA stuff, some college basketball stuff. So until next time, we'll talk soon. Bye.
Thanks.